Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Dawes County Board of Commissioners work session. Today is Thursday, May 1st, 2025. Appreciate all those that are with us in attendance as well as those that are with us online. We get right into the new business. First up, we have presentations of Superior Court personnel action forms and longevity increases. Chief Superior Court Judge Jason Deal. Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, several months ago, maybe a couple months ago, we submitted some personnel actions for 19 supplemental employees that receive part of their compensation from Dawson County. We based that request on the longevity increases that Dawson County had granted to Dawson County employees. We have the budget and we'd asked that the county, but we ran into some resistance with those personnel actions making its way through the county, and we'd ask that the county honor those personnel actions and submit that. I don't know what else you want me to say.
Questions? I have a couple. All right, so the supplemental pay that we give to these employees, which I'm guessing are full-time Hall County employees, correct?
They're full-time circuit employees, yes, sir.
But Hall County pays their full-time pay.
They're paid by Hall County and Dawson County.
Both, oh, these employees are paid, just the supplemental portion is what we pay, right?
That's part of their
That is-
salary, yes, sir.
That's not a percentage of their salary.
No, it's a set amount that the county pays. Like Jason Stevenson, who is here today, our
Yeah,
our court manager.
but they're getting 100% of whatever their grade is for Hall County employee. Correct?
We're not subject to the Hall County personnel policy, just like we're not subject to the Dawson County personnel policy. They have a set salary that they're paid by Hall County, and Dawson County pays a portion.
But the portion we pay is just the supplemental portion,
It is his portion.
but
of
it's
their
not a
salary.
percentage yet. Okay,
As far as I know, it's not a percentage.
that's what I wanted to know. Anyone else? Okay. So you want that moved forward according
Yes.
to your documentation you sent?
Yes, sir. Well, Mr. Chairman, from a broader perspective, we kind of raised the issue of why supplemental employees were left out of whatever policy that was passed. I have 19 employees that work in the judicial system that are supplemental employees that receive a portion of their salary from Dawson County. I believe that DA's office has 2 or 3. I believe the public defender's office may have 6. I'm not speaking for the DA or the PD. Quite honestly, as I pointed out previously, we have the budget. We're a separate branch of the government. I think we have the authority to say, pay our employees. We based that request to be commensurate with what Dawson County's done for full-time Dawson County employees. But what I'm asking is for the county to process the personnel actions, because I think I have the authority to do that. But out of the spirit of trying to be cooperative, I've written a letter, made a request, talked to the county manager, and met with all the commissioners. And so we're trying to do this appropriately by asking you to process the PAs.
I'll personally say I appreciate you meeting with us, and I appreciate with the employees that didn't get the supplemental or didn't get the raise due for the county. So thanks for being here today to present it. I'm good to move it forward if everyone else is, if you need it, move it forward.
Question on the employee evaluations. You use your own format evaluations, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I think one of the I'm not going to say issues, but one of the challenges that we have is our pay for performance is based on, and longevity is based on the formulas that we use. But is your formula in line with the county's formula, even though it's a different format?
We have based our pay on what the county has classified their employees. And in fact, I think we,
Okay.
for like treatment services, the folks that work in my accountability court, I think we're doing the 6 or 7 page employee evaluations that the county requested.
Essentially the same type, along the same lines.
Yes, sir. I think we've done the actual county forms for them. There are a few employees that work directly in the judicial office, like Lisa Phillips and Tammy Deals that worked there for 20-something years, that we have not done the 6 page questionnaire that the county uses for their employees, but they're directly answering to the judges, and we've said we are evaluating their employment. And in fact, for instance, we asked that the county grant, and were granted the longevity increases for those people, Ms. Phillips and Ms. Dills. We did not do the full amount on the merit increase, I think it is. I'm looking at Jason, because we felt like it was, would be disparate from what the county's doing with some of their employees. That would be too high of a raise, not because of her performance, but because her salary's pretty high because she's been here for so long. So while we are a separate and independent branch of the government, we have tried to follow what the county has done with their employees and to pay our people commensurate with what the county pays for their employees, similar classes and that sort of thing. So that's where we are. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, so the equitability component to it is really what I'm looking for, because if we don't have equitability on the way that we're applying the various increases, then that causes skews throughout the organization. So if we feel like we're applying that equitably amongst the way that the county's applying it, then it seems like it's a balance.
Well, for instance, I'm not, maybe this doesn't answer your question, but Hall County passed some longevity increases for employees in Hall County. And people like Jason here, they received that increase, I don't know, 2% or whatever it was, on the portion that Hall County pays on their salary. They didn't receive that benefit for the portion that Dawson County pays on their salary. And we're just asking that and saying they should get that percentage increase on that portion of their salary that Dawson County pays. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Okay.
Other questions?
And it's within your budget. You have it within the budget currently.
Sure, it's covered by the budget.
I'm good with moving it forward.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Let me ask, would you like for me to remain for the voting session this evening? Otherwise, I'm going to return to Hall County to conduct my drug court that starts at 5:30 tonight.
I've asked all my questions, so,
All right, thank you very much.
sir.
Next up, we have presentation of RFP 472-25 design build service for a new Rock Creek Park Gymnasium. Park and Recreation Director, Matt Payne. Matt.
Thank you, Commissioners, and I'm going to have Melissa Hawk up here with us as well, and I'm going to try to help her. I know she's new to this. She's not real good at this purchasing stuff, so I'm going to try to help her get through it. As you know, Parks and Recreation is growing each year, and our foot traffic at our 2 existing recreation centers is pretty outstanding. So this is no surprise to you. We've already discussed it. We are looking into building a new recreation center, and it's going to be approximately a 42,000 square foot building, a pre-engineered metal gymnasium. The location of this particular new recreation center is going to be on site at Rock Creek Park, right there on the eastern boundary of the park, in that unfinished part of the parking lot down at on the closest to the splash pad. I'm going to go ahead and skip over to number 5, and this just is going to kind of show the aerial view of the project site for the public that may not know. This is the parking lot. As most of you will remember, we paved the entire parking lot just this past year, and we left this one completely untouched because of our future plans on this. So this is that part of the parking lot that was unfinished, closest to the maintenance shop. It's actually between the maintenance shop and the splash pad. Excuse me. Next slide here is going, so this is the first floor design of the new recreation center that we are hoping to shoot for. Our plans call for, and I'm going to read this off because this is really well written by Melissa. Our plans call for the first floor to house a sports floor, which is all for basketball courts, which will be multi-purpose use, but they'll be set up as basketball courts. A lobby, male and female restrooms with showers, conference training rooms, a concession stand. Then the second floor, yes, it will have a second floor in it. Will have the upstairs walking trail that will go all along the outside or the inside of the building, but the outside of the courts. And they is overlooking the open area of the first floor. And this details the second floor preliminary design showing that the inside walking track that goes upstairs. I think would be extremely highly used. So now I'm going to back up to slide number 3. Of course, this bid was done according to policy. It was advertised. We posted on the county website. We posted in the Georgia Procurement Registry. All of our social media accounts. We did all of our bells and whistles to make sure that we did this correctly. We did receive 11 proposals. We were excited to have 11 different proposals on this. We did put together an evaluation team. The evaluation team consisted of County Manager Joey Leverett, Parks and Recreation Director Matt Payne, Facilities Director Randy Patrick, Community Development Director Richard Osborne, and then a couple of guys from my staff, the Recreation Programs Manager Buffy Hamill, Sports Programs Manager Caleb Randolph, and a non-weighted review the review was completed by our county's Program Management Consultant Jeff Prine with Ascension Program Management. And of course, Melissa Hawk was our facilitator. I'm going to slide now to number 9. Is this where I get you involved? I'm going to let Melissa take over the numbers part because I'm not real good at that.
So let's get over here. So we're going to go down one more slide. So if everybody will remember back when we did the EOC 911 building award, we had to remind you that it's up to the county to do the most advantageous offer for us as far as making sure that everything that they give us, they will be able to actually provide what we need and at a good price. So with that being said, in the beginning, we did have a person or a company who would look like they were going to be the better company. That's Allstate. They had a combined score of 93. But when you go in and open up their construction cost, which is part of the scoring, the price for the proposal that we received, they offered us 1.4 as the construction cost. We did a lot of prep work on this and did a lot of research and know that that is absolutely unrealistic for that construction cost. So that means that we would come back to you after all of the said and done and do a guaranteed maximum price offer for you guys to do the change order for the actual cost of construction. It would blow your mind because this is nowhere correct. So we go back down to the next one who had the best price after Allstate. That's Cooper and Company, and they're with Jericho Design Group, and they're going to be the A&E with them. Their highest combined score is 79. They actually have a more realistic cost for the construction of 6.377. We feel like this would definitely be the better way to go with the county because we know we'll have less change orders, and they're being upfront with pricing, not to just get the bid, because that's not something we want to do. That's not what we do the RFP for. It's to make sure the whole roundedness of this is the right way to go. And just remember, though, that we'll be coming back to you after they do the 3 phases of design with that guaranteed maximum price for the actual construction cost. So with that being
Let me ask you a
said,
question right here.
yes, sir.
Over at the far end, Vertical Earth was 5860. Was there an issue with them?
Yes, we're going to, if you'll see this here on the, this is the actual summary of the scores. Vertical Earth's with the lowest technical score. So that means that, first of all, they've never done a vertical project. Even though they're vertical earth, they're more known for road projects. They've never built anything. And yes, they were going to work with another group to do the actual work, but they have not had any experience themselves. And their proposal did not really talk more about who their A&E would be and who their construction group would be. They basically are just trying to get started in this line of work. And with all of these different things combined, they were just not the best choice for the county. Let's see here. So now here we are to the slide that shows the cost that we received. And you'll see that there's 3 different phases. We got the preliminary, the detailed schedule design, and then the final design. And then you also see the construction cost that everybody had put in. And Cooper and Company, like I said, they're better realistic with the construction. Their total cost was $6,927,460. But you do need to remember that we will be coming back to you, and I'm going to say this one more time, that we will come back to you again for a guaranteed maximum price. This will be after they go through all these design phases. They'll have to come back to the county staff with a very detailed price and the actual designs. The county will try to go through some negotiations and possibly even some value engineering to get that cost down. And then after all said and done, that's when we'll get back on the schedule with you guys and, $5. We get back on the schedule and we will come back to you with the actual final cost. Now, the 3 top costs for the design, that cannot change. The only thing that will change more than likely is going to be that construction cost. But we did not want to come to you with not having any numbers. We did this the same way when we did the facilities and public works, transfer station, and what is now Station 8. And so we've used this method about 4 times now.
So what potentially changes the top end number? If this is what their bid is, they haven't.
There's a
they're
lot
not
of
looking at final
unknowns.
Documents.
There's a lot of unknowns when you get in there. They're going to be building on top of a asphalted dry or parking lot. So once they get in there and start looking at soils, there may be more costs with that. So that's basically going to be a
But
big part
we're
of it.
essentially locking into them without knowing what their final cost is. Can we not take the top 2 and have the top 2 give
So
us?
you can only have one contract to do the work.
But we don't know what the cost is.
That's right.
We don't.
If I may. if I may.
Yes,
This is a design build bid,
yes,
not a design bid build.
Right.
Very distinct project delivery method. We haven't done that a lot here in the
Yeah.
county. We have done a couple, but
Four.
it's been a little while since we've done one.
right.
This is, it's not anything revolutionary. Design build's been around a long time. There's advantages to design build. It is a different process. It is a very, very different process than what municipal government entities are used to. That 6.927, that price will change through the design process. Probably by the end of the summer, we'll come back to the board with a guaranteed maximum price that y'all will vote on. That number is within our estimates,
Mhm.
but we will not have a final number until we go through the design process.
Right.
And if we don't like that number, we can reject it at that
You
point.
can,
You sure can.
you can.
And they will
How
just
about
be paid for the work that they've done on the design.
And you'll have some other options too, because as we did with the EOC and 911 center, we eliminated the second floor. Based on those total costs, you'll have that same opportunity
Right.
here
We
as
may have to-
well. And just to finish that up in reference to, if you went with 2 of them, then you'd have to pay both of those, the 3 things there, which would be
We do have
$500,000.
Very much, yes, that's correct.
this gym was not part of our capital plan. We do have impact fee funds and some additional SPLOST funds the budget's tight. The budget's tight. And we realize that working through the design. We don't have a blank check here. But there is definitely a need for this and a demand for this service. And again, a lot of time on reviewing these, and quite frankly, 8 of these 11 companies are more than capable of doing this work. Cooper and Company is a good company. Jericho Design, which is their partner, we've worked with recently. They actually have some folks that are live in this county, so that's an advantage. So we feel very comfortable with this recommendation. They've been well vetted, but again, for public consumption and for the board's consumption, that price will change. Hopefully it'll go down a little bit, but it could go up. But you will have an opportunity to review that final price and reject it or approve it later this summer.
We're going to try to keep it the same, as close to this construction that we have here for the cost. That's during those 3 different design phases where Matt said, we said that we're hoping for a 42,000 square foot building. That may have to reduce down to 36. And of course, that'll take that cost down.
So the top 2 numbers are we're committed to regardless.
The top 3 numbers,
Top 3 numbers.
all the
which tend
design.
To be the,
All design. It's
Top.
preliminary design,
Yeah.
detailed schematic design, and then the final design. And then during that final design is when they come back to us with their guaranteed maximum price that will be very detailed. Everything will have its line item. It's not a lump sum situation, and we would be able to change any of that as we go along during that value engineering and negotiation before we actually come back to y'all.
Let me ask you this. All right, let's say the board decides that we're not going to do the second floor like we did on the EOC.
That's right.
And they have to, I guess, redesign that part of it. That going to be another cost?
It very well could be, just like it was with the EOC building. Remember, we came to you guys before, boy, $10. We came back to you guys. I'm just wanting to spend money. We came back to you guys with that particular project and said, this is what they tell us it's going to cost.
Right.
Before we actually asked you to vote on the actual cost. In between those 2 weeks, we came back to you with another design that showed you what the actual cost was going to be without that first floor and with only the floor we have now. And as a matter of fact, Jericho is the group that did the design on the E911 building. So they're very familiar and work very quickly with able changing those sketches
Is there
to match what you want.
Is there any way to get any kind of like ballpark figures based as we were going through this process with 1 floor versus 2 floors?
Yes. we can
Most
do that.
definitely.
Okay,
We can do
Most
that.
definitely.
Do that in conceptual design, yes.
Most
that
definitely.
might help us,
And with a
I mean,
full,
I guess the construction phase is,
the big dollar.
I mean, hell, it's irrelevant at this point because we're not, it's really, we need to be looking at the first 3 items is really what we need to be considering. And there's some substantial lower cost on the first 3 items if we extract out the construction phase because, again, it's irrelevant at this point because we don't even have it designed.
unfortunately, we're going to have to put some kind of number into that contract for the construction, just simply for the fact that you have to have a full contract in place when you're getting started with something, or we'll have to just throw out this construction altogether and rebid the construction phase, because as the attorneys here will tell you, your contract has to have all costs involved. And since this is going to be a full project, then that's what we have to have in the original cost so that we can get an actual contract going. Unless you want to pull construction out of this RFP and make a contract just for this design, and then we'd have to take that design and put it back out to bid for construction costs to have the construction contract.
Construction's irrelevant. I mean, because we don't even know what we're constructing.
Well, we actually know what we're construction because Matt is wanting to mimic another building in Pickens County, I believe. Fannin County, there he is, in Fannin County. So we know what it's going to be. We spent months and months and months
But
with them and another company trying to get pricing.
so this Allstate company is just playing games.
That's exactly right. Honestly, that's exactly right. That is absolutely
Ever done anything
unrealistic.
business with them?
No, I have not personally, and we haven't here in this county. I haven't with the state nor here.
Where they
I'm
based
not
out?
sure if Joey has.
Allstate is a good company, and their base is in South Georgia. I'm not gonna say anything negative about Allstate because they are good folks. You know, what happened here, I don't know. You know, I don't know if they just didn't fully understand the square footage. I don't know, but obviously their price is not an accurate reflection of reality. But
Especially when you
I'm not
look
gonna
at-
say anything bad about Allstate.
You look at them compared to the other 10, they're way completely lower than everybody else.
Yeah, and their final design phase is way out of line, and if we're committed to the first three, yeah.
Exactly.
It's not a balance. It's not a balanced bid.
Absolutely not at all. And that's why we're asking you to go to our second highest score, which is the Cooper and Company, along with Jericho as their A&E.
So Joey talked about how this number could easily change. And I think that's kind of where Chris is hung up on. But I mean, are they tied to to this number? I mean,
I think
Can-
that I think that, you know, this particular one, Cooper and Company, they gave us this number based on their experiences on similar projects, which they've done quite a few gyms.
Yes.
I think this is what they generally think it's gonna cost. But but again, the reason we wanted to have this robust conversation was we want everybody to understand that's not the final number. And that's the whole premises of design build. That's the project delivery method
Right.
is your final, and this is design build with a guaranteed maximum price. There's other methods to do it than that as well. But in governments, we do want to have a final price for y'all to vote on, which we will have this summer as the design goes along.
I'm gonna ask a question here, but if we design this and then send it back out to bid, is that something we can do? I mean, we're on the hook for the first 3 already.
That is
So-
that's not the way this bid is set up. No,
Okay.
no.
and I was gonna go that same direction.
And-
So if we
right.
accept this and they do all the design, but then we reject the final bid on the construction phase, we don't technically own that design then.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
We paid for it.
Yes, we
So
do.
then we can send that design, I mean, if we get to that point and they come up 900,000 and we were originally planning on 6.3 or 6.3 million, they come up at 9 million
The
and we
final,
reject that, can we send out that design in which we then own for a construction phase or no?
Absolutely, absolutely.
But
We
Melissa,
own this.
Didn't we do that before?
We've
This-
done it 4 times.
But in the and I don't remember, this was on a road, this wasn't on a building, but I remember doing this one time. I think it was similar. We did all the design stuff. We didn't go with the construction with that company, but we owned the design. But the
Yes.
company we ended up bidding it out to didn't want to use another company's design. So they ended up using the concept, but we ended up having to pay more for their quote unquote engineering design. Do you remember that?
Honestly, I
It may have been a
don't.
similar, it may have been just a
Yeah.
similar situation, not the same, but are they guaranteed? Because I know engineers can be weird about other people's stuff. Is that, like, would that be a concern? So let's say we decided to change this and only accept the design aspect of it, take the construction part out and like rebid it where it's the design phases only.
Well, we won't rebid the design phase. This
Could
would
we just
be a
remove this one?
design bid build at that point.
Okay.
If you do just the design in the contract now,
Okay,
which is basically you have a design group, just like with Jericho now. And then you have Amaker, who only is constructing off of Jericho's design.
fine,
So
right.
you can do that, but when you do a design build like this, just like when we did the public works,
Yes.
transfer,
Yep.
all that, you have one general contractor that you deal with all your problems
Like
with.
Pearls Black, I think, did all of that.
That's exactly right. And this was the exact same way we did that one. We had the construction cost in there. and We came back with a guaranteed maximum price after all you and
Looked
Mr.
everything and
McKee all of
changed and all that,
them
yeah.
came in and did some changing. And the price actually was very close to what
It
the
was.
original construction was because you were able to do those changes throughout the design.
Okay,
And this is a great way to get a good project done where you don't have people pointing fingers at each other as to why something's not working.
I mean, I will say the Public Works building went off without a hitch. Like, it was
And-
a very good process.
And to bring it up, that also was a pre-engineered building. So was the fleet, your transfer station, as well as Station 8.
Right,
And that's one reason why we did these on design build,
because they worked. so
because
well.
it was a pre-engineered, it wasn't a stick or straight from the beginning. It's an actual pre-engineered building that they're going to modify to be what Matt's going to need.
Joey, do you know who built Fannin Counties and did they bid?
Do you know?
I do not, I believe,
Yeah.
Matt, you don't know
You
that.
go straight to them.
There's three advantages of design build over traditional design bid build. This is design build. The number one advantage is your design costs are usually less because it's not a complex design. And this is not a complex building. It doesn't fit for every project. Design build does not fit for every project, but your design costs are usually less. The second reason is it's faster. If we'll do this design over in the next 90 days, whereas a traditional design, it could take 6 to 12 months to do the design. And usually the whole project in general, the third advantage is this can be delivered faster. I think with the schedule, this gym should be completed next spring of 26.
Mhm.
If we were doing a traditional project delivery method, this would be sometime in 27 before this thing was finished. So we have an infinite amount of money for this project without borrowing money. And the goal is to pay for this with the funds we have. So through the design process, we're not going to get carried away. We're going to bring you back a price, frankly, that we can pay cash for, that I don't have to borrow money. And that's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but we think we can do it. I think that's within our budget. I'm confident that Cooper and Company can deliver this project.
I mean, it makes complete sense. Why would we not go to the company that designed the exact same thing that we're trying to mimic?
The one that designed the one in Fannin?
Yeah,
I
I mean,
don't know if they
that's-
participated.
They did not participate.
Yeah. And that was.
We reach out to them and tell
it-
them, hey, we want to build the exact
This,
same building.
this went out to probably about 300 different companies, and they were aware that it was going on. We just
It will
just
be
like we
very
always say, we
similar,
can't make
but
somebody
not
bid.
exact.
My biggest thing is that we have $8 million in differences between the lowest bidder and the highest bidder. And we do a design and we put it back out to bid again. At that point in time, we're going to have some realistic numbers at that point as to what it's going to cost without having to do a bunch of supplements. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to why we would just hold ourselves to one company, not knowing what that number is going to be. If we could save the taxpayers 2 million, 3 million, whatever that number is, that's just my thought process.
Well, the thing you have to remember as a board is you could reject whatever that final price is.
But you're committed to 500 grand.
You're going to be committed to that no matter who you pick.
You're not. I mean, you look at
No, I do.
Vertical Earth is, I
do,
just
but
ran
we-
the numbers. They're
they may not.
337 for the first three items. Cooper and Company's 550.
But you have to,
That's a $220,000 difference.
But to the point she made earlier, Vertical Earth had never done a project.
Never
like
done
this.
Yeah, but
so
they're
that
not
means they don't know how to
vertical.
design this.
Contracting it out to other people. I mean, that's,
I mean, I do agree that I do want this complex because my kids play sports here as well. So I see the need for it. I just want to make sure that it makes sense at the end of the day moving forward.
Exactly. And if you'll compare the other 10 to each other, you'll see those numbers are very close. There is a huge difference between Vertical Earth and here, but it's because Vertical Earth has never done this before. We don't even know where they came up with that number because they never even told us who their partner was going to be and what their whole concept was to get this completed.
Melissa, you've done this 4 times. Do you
Yes.
feel comfortable with this?
I do.
Okay.
And I did it, I can't tell you how many times in the state when we constructed prisons and diversion centers and transitional centers.
I
This is
feel
a
like you've
very
led us
common
astray
way.
Before, so I feel like if this is, and Joey, you seem pretty confident in this as well.
Right. This particular type of method is very common with the state through the Georgia Finance and Insurance and Investment Commission, this is how they construct state buildings all over Georgia. It's because it's a proven way to go. And I know that there's differences in prices with these designs, but you also not only look at the price, you have to look at the technical scores. That's why we didn't just do an invitation for bid for a low price. We would have had to go to vertical with that, and they don't even have an idea of how to get this designed. And they did not present anything in their package that was evaluated by 6 different people with our county and 7 being our consultant that impressed them that they could do this job.
Do they have bid bonds? Is this required
Oh, definitely.
at this point or later?
In the contract, it will be. And that's another thing.
At this contract or later?
Okay, a bid bond, they had to do it just to even put in a bid with us. That just means that they're going to give us a contract. The payment performance bonds will be included in this because we are going to have a construction.
It's the final numbers are out.
Oh, no, just as soon as you award this in 2 weeks, they're going to have to give us a bid bond and a performance bond and a payment bond for this $6.9 million. That'll be part of their actual contract.
I mean, if they can build it for that price,
Right.
but you said the price can change.
But that's not what a bond is. A performance bond means that they do the work that they're contracted for. A payment bond means that they're going to pay their subcontractors and their actual employees. Those are what those bonds means. There's no bond out there that guarantees that the price is going to be that price. A bid bond just means they're going to give us a contract. That meaning that they're going to sign the contract to the full extent with all the other bonds that are included in a public works bid. That's what that guaranteed maximum price change order is when you come back at the end, is the guarantee that that work is going to be done for that price with no other change orders. That's why you call it a guaranteed maximum price, right? And everywhere and within that 3 phase for design, you all are very welcome to find out where we are. We have a preliminary cost during the 2nd phase, which is the detailed schedule phase. And then, like I said, in the final phase, they have to give us an actual hard contract, a construction cost, and give us a very thick, very detailed manual that is the guaranteed maximum price. Every aspect of the construction is a line item separately. It's not a lump sum. They have to prove to us in every line item for every door, every handle, what this cost is.
As long as it comes in close to that number, I think we're all fine. If we
Right.
lock into them at this point and they come in at 14 million,
We won't come back to you with
I
that.
will have a problem with this
Right.
process. And I
We
will
would
never
not-
do this process again.
We would not come back to you with 14 million. That's what these different phases are for, and that's what that construction maximum price phase is during that final
We
design
don't know if
phase.
it's going to come back. I mean, we don't know at this point.
They could try, but we also can do the value engineering if it takes it to get it closer to this. We just want to make sure y'all understand that there's probably a good chance that it may come back different than this. If you tell the county staff, you don't want no more than this, then it's going to be up to us and the design group, Jericho, to get it to that cost that you tell us you don't want it to be over.
If we tell you that we don't want it to go over 7 million,
Then
Figure it out.
are we
everybody
gonna
here,
just, but that would be something that would kind of put it in the ball in your court and say, when they come back with, hey, the number is 8.2, like, hey, what do we need to do? What can we do to finesse that number to get it to 7? Because this is what our board agreed upon to us.
right, and that's when we would have to reduce the footprint of the actual building itself from 42 to 36 or something like that to get it down into a cost that you're comfortable with.
Which I think that's where Joey was going earlier. when he
Exactly.
said,
Exactly.
we have a finite amount of cash for this project.
Yeah.
And you're not going to bring it back to us if we don't have that cash. So
I mean,
I think
good
I'm fine
that.
with it.
I'm good with that too.
So when we get to our last phase here in the presentation, is here. This is going to let you know exactly where all this money is sitting. And we've worked with Ms. Johnson back here, and we know the numbers fit for what our hopes are. So staff is respectfully requesting that the board accept the offers received, award a contract to Cooper and Company in the amount of $6,927,460. We're going to be utilizing SPOS 6, SPOS 7, and impact fees for this.
Other questions? Joe, if you could, as we talked about there, if we could kind of get some ballparks as we go along, I think that would be helpful too in these phases. Kind of have an idea, you know, oh, they found all this stuff buried in the ground that we didn't know was there, that the parking lot's sitting on. Okay, anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
With parking, obviously the park was designed with that much parking to begin with, and we're eliminating.
A little bit more of a challenge we've noticed over the years that only during really special events does that parking lot fill up as well. I don't think it's gonna be anything that would ever shut us down or give us any what I would consider major problems, but there will be some parking issues. But we also have looked at some areas in the park that we can convert over into some parking areas if need be, that are not being utilized other than just green space. So there are some areas that we could turn into some parking. But parking will be a little bit of an issue, but we consider that trade-off a little bit right now as a pretty good deal.
Can we get some pricing on what it looks like to expand the parking?
Sure will. Sure will.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have presentation of request to approve 2025 local maintenance and improvement grant, local road assistance application and request for Georgia Department of Transportation funding. Public Works Director Robert Drury. Robert.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. You'll see me for a while on the agenda. You're familiar with the LMIG program, the Local Maintenance and Improvement Grant Program. The LRA stands for Local Road Assistance Administration funding. And this fiscal year with the Georgia legislature, they've added funding into the LMIG program with no local match. They've done that before. Actually, they did it in 2024. And we applied those funds toward Burke Creek Road, if you recall. So we were advised on that back on March 20th, and the applications are due June 15th. So we looked at our unfunded capital improvement list for roads and found a pretty close match, and that would be the Lumpkin Campground Road South. It's from Dawson Forest Road south to the Forsyth County line. So we would be looking to mill and fill that portion of road. It is in pretty bad condition, deep patch where we need to. And of course, do the striping back and pavement markings, crosswalks, and rumble strips. Included in that project is a right-in, right-out at Dawson Market Way. It was recommended in the 2023 traffic study that that is a painted island now, and it's not well obeyed. So the recommendation was to put a raised concrete channelized island. So we want to include that in this project as well, since the contractor is going to be out there. So the LMIG allocation is, of course, based on population and the road mileages of Dawson County. And based on the DOT's website, Dawson County is eligible for $610,581.45. Again, no local match. So closely related that to this project, we're estimating Lumpkin Campground Road to be at $784,000. Any additional funds, and there may be some necessary, we can pull that from SPLOST 7. So it is our recommendation to for the board to accept this grant and submit with the application for LMIG, and we'll apply it toward the project as I've just defined.
Questions for Robert?
Robert, I know Lumpkin Campground is, portions of it are on T-Splosh. There's a lot of funds on T-Splosh for that. Us doing this is not going to change, like, I guess during T-Splosh, this portion of it won't be changed in any way outside of this.
Good question. There are portions of this that will be affected by a T-Splosh project, as you're going to see later in presentations tonight. We do have some other projects. We have a project at Whitmire, and then we have the Dawson Forest Road itself, the roundabout. Those are a couple years away, and we feel like that pavement is probably not going to survive that time. So we need to look at something. If it's not through LMIG, we may have to look at next SPLOST funds 100%. Or, you know, however we can find it. But yes, that road's in bad condition. We actually learned that we had 2 utility cuts. Well, we didn't, private developers, 2 utility cuts down there toward the Castleberry. And had a hard time patching that because the pavement was so bad. It still needs more work.
Other questions? Okay, move on to number 4, presentation of IFB 473-25, road rehabilitation on 4 county roads. Robert?
Thank you again for your time. This is kind of exciting. This is really our first T-Splosh project that we're bringing forward to the board. You've probably already heard we've paved Emmett Road or Emmett Drive. Drive, yeah, thank you. Emmett Drive, with our own forces. We didn't have to bid that out, but this is the first big project, and it's a big splash project. And we're looking at using T-Splosh funds with. There are multiple roads on the T-Splosh, we recognize that, but we did have some roads with, we felt like a higher priority that needed immediate attention. And of course, as cash flow allowed, we proceeded with several roads on the list. And you can see the list on the bottom of the screen. Keith Evans Road, Blue Ridge Overlook, Nightfire Drive, and Dogwood Way. So I'm going to briefly talk about each one of those projects. Oh, nope, actually, I'm going back up. We did put this out to bid for those projects, and we did follow the bid policy. I don't want to go past that slide without Ms. Hawk knowing. So Keith Evans Road from State Route 183 to State Route 136. It is a full depth reclamation. We actually have lost some pavement out there already. And we will do 24-foot of pavement, which is just about become a standard for those types of roads where we have a 2-foot safety shoulder, paved safety shoulder. Blue Ridge Overlook, very similar. We originally thought when T-Splosh came about that this would probably just be a deep patch. We consulted with actually 2 different sources and concluded that FDR is the best fix for this road. So we went for an FDR on this road as well. And again, 24-foot of pavement with a 2-foot paved safety shoulder. Nightfire Drive in the Chestatee area from 400 up to Dogwood Avenue, the intersection of Dogwood Way, excuse me. Mill and pave, pretty simple project, nothing too outstanding on that. We did change a little bit. There's an asphalt curb on Nightfire that we want to replace with the concrete curb and gutter. And that actually request came from the community as well. So we've included that into this bid project. And then Dogwood Way from 136 back through Chestatee community to the private section. And that is a variable deep patching with mill and overlay. So we went out to bid. I know you can't read this slide. We got 2 quotes, one from Blunt and one from W.C. Matthews. Very good quotes. We broke it down, and what we'd like to do and recommending is for the board to accept the bids as they received them and award a contract to Blunt Construction Company in the amount of $2,227,688. That's specifically for the Blue Ridge Overlook and Keith Evans, the FDR work. And then C.W. Matthews was low on the Nightfire and Dogwood at $1.571, $525,525. So we request that the board approve a contract to C.W. Matthews for that work. And this is through T-Splosh. And we would like to request a 10% county control contingency in case we run into other problems out there while we're out there. So that is our request. Any questions?
Questions?
When would these projects let?
When were they let?
Yep, specifically Keith Evans.
I don't know. Melissa, do you know when that was bid?
This is being bid. These are the prices.
Right. You want to
Right,
know
but
when?
When would they start construction?
Oh, when do they start? I'm sorry. you're asking if they start construction?
When will they start?
Okay, assuming the board awards at the next meeting, we're looking at probably June or July. They want to get these in as much as everybody else.
So Keith Evans is a road that currently potentially, I think, is legally the only way that heavy traffic, truck
Yes.
traffic
Yes.
can go eastbound due to the intersection at 136 and Shoal Creek Road.
Correct.
Is that roundabout at Shoal Creek and 136 going to be completed before this?
It'll be in a position where they'll be able to make a safe left.
Do what?
It'll be in a position where they can make a safe turning movements.
Okay. And then Dogwood Way, don't we have a bridge that's being, is that not a,
There's no bridge on Dogwood Way.
not on Dogwood Way, but on,
Shoal Creek.
136? Isn't Dogwood Way, at one point, that was gonna be the alternate route, the
Oh,
detour in order to get
yes.
around the bridge construction that was going on 136. Is this still the case?
That is a good point, and I'm glad you refreshed my memory on that. Yeah, when the DOT does the Toto Creek Bridge on 136, they're going to close that bridge and put a temporary signal at Henry Grady and
Right.
400. Some traffic may not want to do that, and they want to go through the Chestatee community. That's correct. And we have talked to the community about that potential problem. They've got to go through 4 stop signs, and I think there may even be well, they got to go through 4 stop signs we know of, and then I feel like it's not going to be an increase. Once they go through it once, they're going to realize that's not the best route.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a chance that construction will be in,
During that time?
There's a
I mean,
chance
this
of-
could be simultaneous at that time.
we don't know when the DOT will put that project, release that project, but there's a chance it could be.
But the other, the other option, is it Old Henry Grady? That's the way that we want them to go.
Correct,
And there will be no
Correct.
construction there.
correct.
And aren't they putting like a temporary light or something to
There'll be
kind
a-
of help with traffic at Old Henry Grady so that it kind of encourages people to go that way?
There will be a temporary signal put up. When you see that temporary signal go up, you know the DOT's released it.
Other questions? Okay, we'll move on to number 5. Informational presentation of quarterly transportation special purpose local option sales tax report, BM&K President Don Clerici. Don.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, appreciate the opportunity to come and discuss T-Splosh tonight. You guys are in a rather spirited mood, so we look forward for some good questions. At any rate, as you know, this is our second time here. We came first time in January at your retreat and kind of laid out our projects for you. So just to kind of get us going, this is our IGA summary slide. And this is a pretty good slide, kind of let you know where everything is at. I'll just direct your attention to your share of the revenue. So you've collected 6.4 million to date. Our 6-month average is just north of 1.1 million. As you know, we put in 1.1 as our average throughout the life of the program. After 12 months, we will reevaluate that. But we feel like we're in a pretty good slot. T-Splosh does have some exemptions that are different than your standard special purpose local option taxes. So just ask that you keep that in mind. So we'll move on to the next slide. And we're going to take these projects kind of as we laid the projects out originally by group. So this first slide is our road resurfacing, and you heard some of these projects tonight. Emmett Drive was an in-house project completed by Robert and his staff, and then Night Fire and Dogwood, you've heard about that. So our slides are set up as the budget and then what is committed. So that the commitment segment of this is really what is most important to you. So we'll move on to the next category, and this is the full depth reclamation category. So FDR, these are the roads that Robert brought to you, awarded to Blount Construction. Next slide is our intersection projects. These are projects that are having to develop through design. The road projects or the paving projects, we were able to kind of get up and get moving a little bit quicker. So, and I'll just hit these just real quickly, but if you have a question about any of these on this slide, feel free to feel free to stop me or ask at the end, would be fine. So Lumpkin Campground at 53, so that's a real active project, one with congestion, and we're looking to continue that. That's been a partnered project. As the chairman knows, we met with Georgia DOT about this one, and it is moving through the process, and we've been fortunate enough to wrangle in some LMIG funds. So you'll be learning more about that as the project develops through design and we come back with bids. So we're very excited about that. There is a presentation tonight about Lumpkin Campground at Grizzle. You'll be hearing about that. And I would like to mention this State Route 9 South project. You see it's listed as GDOT. This is a project with the city of Dawsonville that has been picked up by Georgia DOT, and it will go through the federal process. So you can look for it to reach construction in about 7 to 10 years. But just wanted to make you aware of that. But they did take it over, so that is a real good thing. Any questions on those intersections before I move
That's
on?
one we found out about at the meeting too.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
When will we see activity on the Lumpkin Campground 53 intersection? I know that one's been in work for quite some time, and we do have some local participation from some additional developments. So when will we actually see some improvements?
So we're in the right-of-way phase.
Yep.
Right-of-way phase now. There is a second phase to this project that we've kind of grouped together as part of the LMIG funding that came from Georgia DOT. We look to go to construction, you'll see in a later slide, winter. So that's winter 2025, winter 2026. Is our plan to go to contract, like let it to contract as you asked a minute ago.
Winter 25 or winter 26?
Yeah, first day of winter is technically in December.
But that's
So if you look at the season, that's kind of
so December, we just don't know what year.
this year. Yeah.
Be December or January.
Oh, okay. I thought.
Couple of months.
Okay.
Couple of months
Okay.
difference.
Gotcha. I thought
We-
you meant a
we-
year difference.
We kind of talking seasons when it comes to road work.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
Good deal.
I apologize for that. I should have been a little more clear. But it's a good point that you made, folks listening. They don't know what I meant either, so I appreciate the question.
Have we received all the funding from that local development that contributed, what, 400,000 to that project? Because it was phased in. I think we got 200 on the front end, and then they were supposed to contribute another 2 by the time they got to, okay. All right, thanks.
All right. All right,
Sorry, we're spirited tonight.
and that's good. That's really good. That is a positive thing. Our next round of projects are roadway improvements or widening. And now these have kind of varying scopes. And I'll just pick up on a couple that are active that we're moving through from a design or a pre-construction standpoint. Longview Drive, that's got some pavement problems, some drainage problems. We're trying to work through those. We do have some solutions, so you'll be seeing that. Lumpkin Campground, Commissioner Stowers, you mentioned about the paving tonight. We are developing some concepts for improving Lumpkin Campground from 53 to Dawson Forest. So you're going to see some preliminary concepts and costs related to those. And Couch is in the same process, moving through that. Now we did include a few slides. These are kind of hard to see from a distance, but up close, it's Elliott Road. You guys are familiar with this project. It's been going on for quite some time. We are in the utility relocation or utility adjustment phase right now, where they've submitted their proposed relocation. So we're adding those to our drawings, and we've got the foot on the brake, waiting on right-of-way and easement acquisition. We're pretty close. We need the utility adjustments to work through that. But that project is moving. That's going to be a 2025, 2026. That's another one of these winter projects that's going to get kicked off, provided we can work through the easement acquisition. Residents along the road are very interested in when we're coming. So Next project, you asked about Lumpkin Campground at 53, so we just wanted to give you a little more idea of what is kind of going on. So the turn lanes, going to get a upgraded signal. There's the median improvements down along 53, closer to 400. This does have some potentially complicated utility adjustments. So the schedule is subject to that. Next project, and I'm just going to leave this to later, is Lumpkin Campground at Grizzle. You're gonna hear a presentation. Andrew Antweiler is here, our designer, engineer from KCI. So we'll be bringing that separately. So I won't replow any ground, or won't the next time. So next project, we call these active projects. These are the ones you heard about tonight. And again, I won't blow through these, but just keep in mind of what the total cost is. And the next slide is Emmett Drive, and it is completed. So as time goes on and we come back to you at these quarterly updates, there'll be more of these, more photos of active projects and completed projects. That's what's really interesting. And then the last slide is our expense summary. Again, I just wanted to remind you of the encumbrances, and then I'd like to just direct your attention to the difference. So as we're early on into this program, there's not a lot of extra left, so we do have to be very careful with overruns and when things go to construction. So you'll hear it's really not important how much money we have in the account. It's what we've encumbered.
Exactly.
Is really the thing to keep in mind. So I would like to mention that, and things do come up. I'll just say this, and I mentioned this at your retreat. Things like right-of-way acquisition, we can let a project to contract and have a pretty good idea of what we're going to spend every month through the life of the job. But when you're in the middle of land acquisition, things can change, and a
Critical.
value that you may not know about to settle may be a lot higher. So just keep that in mind. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions?
I guess mine's not necessarily for BMK, but more for us internally. What do we have from a proactive communication with the community on these projects that we're working on? Are we doing videos? Are we disseminating this information beyond this meeting with the citizens?
Good question. Our public relations has got a dedicated webpage for it where you'll see dashboards and immediate updates. And we just started touching some of those since these projects really are just now kicking off. But that's a great source is the webpage.
Yeah.
And of course, some of these projects are going to require some community meetings as well. So we'll pull the public in on those as well.
Are we doing the videos? I know Forsyth has done some of the videos and it's been very well received, and the consumption, statistically, the consumption of videos is much higher than just static.
Absolutely. But we need projects to start so that I can actually make videos. In the meantime, when we're trying to highlight that there are projects coming up, I can use stock imagery, but it's not as authentic as it could be videos of anything. So once these projects actually start off, we'll be doing videos. I just showed Robert today our Google Analytics are good when we post press releases. It's good for social media. And then also when Dawson County News covers some of our upcoming projects as well. So all those together get some pretty good visibility.
That's
Alright.
great. I mean, we got to be proactive in communicating this because the
In
citizens
reference,
voted on it.
in reference to that as well, are we putting up this is the T-Splosh project sign at the beginning of these things?
Yes, sir. We will be
Okay.
putting a project. Once you award the contract I presented on the 4 road, you'll see a sign come up as soon as we award it.
'Cause I've seen some of that already, so that's good.
We have,
In reference to some of these as well, I sent you some information today that I received to you and Joey in reference to safety money. And are we eligible for some of that could flow into some of these safety issues you talked about?
yeah, it's more money released for the LMIG program. This is for the SAP, Safety Action Money. And it's a lot more limited than the regular LMIG. We're looking to see if we have anything that would qualify.
I
We
knew-
did some striping.
I just sent it to you today, so I know you hadn't had time to dive into it, but I had received that today from the state, so I just wanted to make sure that we look at that thoroughly. Thank you. All right, next up, We have presentation of conceptual plans for the intersection of Lumpkin Campground Road at Grizzle Road, Industrial Park Road. Robert?
Yes, thank you again. Hopefully this will be the last presentation that you see me at today.
You're doing fine.
Well,
Keep it up.
I learned Will Rogers makes a claim that surround yourself with smart people. So I've got the Don with me and Andrew Antweiler with KCI Technologies. You've probably seen the name or heard the name. He is our consultant for the Grizzle Road, Industrial Park Road
Goes back to
intersection.
that old saying, you're only good as you people around you.
That's correct, and I
Absolutely.
recognize that.
Absolutely true.
I've got a presentation I'm going to go through. You're certainly welcome to ask questions, of course. But hopefully we can address all the questions that you're going to ask. But this is specifically for this intersection. And if you recall a little bit of background, I don't think it's in my next slide. Yeah. If you recall, in the 2019 traffic study that was done for the Lumpkin Campground Road, the study recommended a single lane roundabout at this intersection, but it did also say it was kind of caveats because there was underground utilities and the topography was not real good to suggest that we need to go out and get some conceptual work done. So we've hired KCI Technologies to do that. And we're going to be presenting to you tonight the concepts that we have come up with. And it's a pretty good product, and I hope you'll be pleased. But KCI did do traffic counts and crash histories. A conventional topographical survey was performed. Underground utilities were located. And just a reminder, this intersection, it's an always stop controlled intersection. If no improvements were made, we are advised that the intersection will operate at an unacceptable level of service by 2029. So we feel like we do need to do something a little bit on the immediate need. So KCI has prepared those scopes. So I've got 3 scopes I'm going to show you. And the picture is good. It gives you a little bit of a visual at a high level. But this particular concept is a signalized intersection. It's got dedicated left turn lanes in each direction, coming from each direction. There'll be a left turn lane with the dedicated signal. But this gives you a pretty good visual of what it will look like at that intersection. That intersection will qualify by the MUTCD warrants for a signalized intersection. There are warrants you have to have before you can throw up a signal. So it does qualify for that. It is expected to accommodate the 20-year traffic volumes. And if necessary, the nice thing about a signal is you can rearrange the timing to fit which side is getting more impact than the other. It is the least impact utilities and requires the least amount of right-of-way. It's the least impact on the adjacent development and the future developments. You see 3 of those quadrants are already developed. The 4th one actually has an approved permit, I believe, to put in some warehouses. It can accommodate that future 2-way left turn that we brought to you a couple of weeks ago, the future look of Lumpkin Campground Road. This will accommodate that as well. And of the other concepts, just a note that it is the least expensive. Another option we're looking at, option number 2, is a single lane roundabout. Again, another nice, colorful, pretty picture. And I didn't point out on the previous slide, but the dark yellow, wide yellow is the side path that we do project putting out there. So that was why it was important to make sure that the board wants to put a side path on Lumpkin Campground Road so these concepts can accommodate it. But that is the single lane roundabout. It will accommodate the tractor trailer trucks that we know go through there. One thing I do want to point out on this one, because we did know that the topography was going to be a challenge. The whole roundabout had to be shifted slightly to the west because of the developed intersections. So that impacted the Grizzle Road as you're coming down the hill in the curve on Grizzle Road. So there are significant impacts to Grizzle Road. As a matter of fact, we're going to have to drop the grade on Grizzle Road significantly to accommodate the traffic manual's requirements as you're going into an intersection. And that in turn will impact the sewer line and gas line, and there's a gas regulator station. So there's significant impacts with this. And because we have to lower Grizzle Road, we'll have to close Grizzle Road during construction and reroute them or find a temporary route for them, for that traffic. Right-of-way acquisition, it does require right-of-way acquisition, but it really should not affect the operations of the existing businesses, but we do have to acquire both easements and right-of-way from just about all 4 quadrants. The projected 20-year traffic volume indicate long vehicle queues along Lumpkin Campground Road during those peak hours. That is a concern. And then, of course, I think it was mentioned when I brought this to the board, when we hired KCI, was if we put a roundabout there, is that going to throw the traffic to the 53 intersection and cause a backup? And so, yes, it does. That continuous flow through the traffic roundabout, it could create more queues at the signal at 53. And then the third option is a dual lane roundabout. It will accommodate the 20-year traffic projections, but I wanted to show you just the impact of the footprint on that is significant, but it is certainly an option. And going through the bullets, the footprint is larger than the required right-of-way acquisition of the single lane roundabout, and it does affect the operations of the existing businesses. It does, I think I just mentioned that, accommodate the projected 20-year traffic volumes. But one of the things to consider in the dual lane is you may not need that second lane for quite a few years. So you either stripe it out, or it kind of looks like, well, we built it for 2, but we're only needing 1. That could be a factor if we decide to go that route. And again, the roundabout provides that continuous flow of traffic to the next intersection. And this is a table of estimated construction cost at this point in time, just during the conceptual level. And it identifies, preliminary engineering, right-of-way acquisition, construction costs, utility relocation, and it gets kind of pricey. All 3 options are obviously very expensive. The single lane roundabout at $4.4 million, the signalized intersection at $4.4 million, the single lane roundabout about $1 million more, and the dual lane, double lane roundabout is almost $8 million. I do want to caution, though, as Mr. Clarissy mentioned, getting right-of-way acquisition, it's kind of tough because you think you know the value. They may think that you get third-party appraisals, you find other impacts. It's kind of a hard to project that right-of-way cost when you get into acquisition. So I just want to note that. So based on all those factors, the collective group of BM&K and KCI, we do recommend proceeding with the signalized intersection. We want to open that up. Obviously, there's going to be some discussion, and we certainly welcome that. But that is our staff's collective recommendation, is the single lane roundabout. And if we do the next step in the process is we'll turn it over to KCI to give us a proposal for the design services, and then we can kick them off and get them going. So are there any questions? And I brought these guys, mostly the technical questions. So I may have to call them up here as well.
Questions?
So my biggest concern is safety. I mean, I know that intersection, there's been, before the flashing stop signs and the lanes were put in, the turning lanes, there were multiple accidents, a few fatalities, which kind of drove the immediate need of the flashing stop signs and the turning lanes, which I think have helped. Obviously, I haven't seen the crash data since those have went in, but I do think that it's improved. I haven't heard of a fatality there. I guess my concern is that with a light, I know that if you look at a traffic light versus a roundabout, the amount of, like, the high rate of speed that can fly through a traffic light versus a roundabout is significant. And I've sent you a bunch of information earlier, basically statistically showing that roundabouts are much safer. So I understand that maybe it would be better for traffic flow with a traffic light, But I know we have the roundabout just down from there at Dawson Forest and Lumpkin Campground, and I've never seen it. It's a super busy roundabout. I've never seen it cause a backup to the next intersection, which would be this intersection. But I have seen the red light at 53 and Lumpkin Campground cause backup to this intersection. So it seems to be reverse of what is stated here. Now, I'm not going to argue with the fact that that's the research, but just for someone who drives that road every single day, that's visibly what I've seen and experienced. So I'm not sure where that data comes in, but my biggest concern would be safety. I mean, people flew through those stop signs when it was just stop signs. I'm not so sure that the flashing stop sign helped. People did claim that they didn't see the stop signs, so maybe that's why they were installed literally overnight. I was a part of that process, and we were, I don't remember who told us, maybe the board, I don't remember, but I was in Public Works at the time, and it was like, there was a fatality, what can we do to improve this intersection this week? And it was that. So we installed those traffic lights, and then we did a bunch of the 811 locate to find the gas lines and all that stuff. Then we did the turning lanes. And so I do feel like we've moved in the right direction. And I definitely think something needs to be done as far as traffic control. But I don't know, I'm super concerned about the safety aspect of it.
I appreciate your comments. And I do want to say this as well, because I stood in front of this board and told you I like roundabouts, and I'd love to see a roundabout here. I just can't get away from the impacts this is going to create and the cost. But the impacts to the community, I think, are pretty big. Safety is, you're right, roundabouts are statistically safer. They have less points of conflict than a traffic signal. But, you know, how many of those accidents were, you know, distracted drivers, DUI, things of that sort that are going to happen, you know, unfortunately. So it's obviously a factor you got to weigh. It is a factor.
I think one of the, I was the one that actually said, let's put the flashing things. McKee thought they were going to all get stolen because it was.
Well, 2 of them did, but we replaced them. It was fine.
I think with the way that it sits now is the stop signs, because there's dual lanes, is kind of somewhat over to the right and it's not as visible. But if we get an overhead light, then it's going to be much more visible to approaching that intersection. And so, yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, statistically, obviously, I think everybody agrees that the roundabouts are much safer. It looks like, based on your drawings, that should we go to should we go to a light, should we finally, you know, in 5 years, 10 years, decide let's migrate over to a roundabout, then that's a possibility later down the road if we see that the light's not efficient or effective, and ease into it versus going.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Antweiler on that question, because I know he's got a lot more experience in making those transitions than I do, if he wants to make a comment on that.
Good evening. So the question regarding, could we build the traffic signal first and then come back 5 or 10 years and replace it? Yes, we could always, you know, rebuild something. One thing that our group talked about was building something that would be flexible and that would last longer than 5 or 10 years. And so the other option, you could even build a roundabout today as a single lane and then realize in 10 years, hey, it's not working. Now we need to rip it out. So then you have to balance, well, now we've built something twice, or, you know, right. So that is something that we spoke about as a group and felt like the signal was a better value for the county when you look at, you know, there's traffic flow, there's also the safety, there's also the cost, and then there's the impacts and right-of-way impacts to those adjacent businesses.
On the single roundabout, and I may be wrong, you may have to go back to that slide. It didn't impact the businesses, correct? It would just impact the right-of-way? Go back to the one, Robert, that said like the bullet points for the single lane roundabout.
Yes, so on the single lane roundabout, like Robert explained, we kind of shifted that a little bit towards the west of
Right.
Wiesel. And what is not shown on the aerial is that approved development in that like corner, the southwest corner. And so as we encroach into that corner, we could impact that developed plan. So we could be impacting parking spaces or even that building. The current, one reason we did shift it that direction was to stay off of the other two businesses that have the established buildings and parking lots. So we're trying to minimize our impacts as much as possible with that layout. When we go to the larger roundabout, we would have impacts on.
Yeah, I wouldn't do a
bus-
2-lane in Dawson County yet.
And that was,
roundabout.
that was also something we spoke about where we felt like the single lane fit better at that location and considering the drivers. However, we had the concern that after 10 years, getting to that 20-year period, we might start seeing those long queues at the roundabout, and then we're kind of in a situation of, you've got all this development built up around you, it's going to be difficult at that point to come back and rebuild it. So you might be going back to a signal, and then the thought was, well, maybe we should have built a signal to begin with. So the signal, and I'll speak to the crashes a second. We did look at the past 5 years of crashes. The intersection as an always stop still does experience crashes each year. However, they are typically property damage only, or they are very low injury type crashes. So we have fortunately, no fatal crashes in the past 5 years. I know we've had some in the past. So we do anticipate both by converting the intersection to a signal or a roundabout, we are going to see a safety benefit because, like you mentioned, and we've observed out there, having those 2 lanes on each approach of an always stop, a lot of times drivers get confused of who's going to go first. And that is potentially why we have a number of these very low speed angle crashes, is because somebody thinks they're going to turn left and somebody maybe waved them, but they didn't actually. So we get a lot of those low injury type property damage crashes at that
When there were when there were fatalities,
Mhm.
those turning lanes weren't there. So the stop signs were not over to the far side.
Sure.
So I do understand your point now, but before, when the fatalities were happening, those stop signs were right there. They just weren't flashing. It was a normal 4-way intersection with no turning lanes, and the stop signs were not, because right now I can see, if you're not used to that intersection, I could see now where it would be confusing.
Were the rumble strips there when y'all
Yeah, go
put
ahead,
the
please.
flashing stops?
We put in I think we installed all of it at one time.
Yeah.
Well, the turning signals or the turning lanes came later simply because they had to do locate. They had to do a bunch of locate, and the gas company was on like a 6-month waiting period because it was a whole thing. But
One of the most
it was a
publicized
kid. I think it was a
was
DUI.
situation. So no matter if you got a roundabout or light or 4-way stop, that might not have mitigated.
No, statistically speaking, I've done my research on roundabouts because I'm a huge advocate of them. Is if somebody had a DUI and was going it, the middle of the roundabout is going to slow them down tremendously before they're able to make full impact on somebody.
Sure.
Whereas when it was the regular intersection and there was nothing, they came full impact into the side of that car and T-boned them.
Good.
And it does lower T-bones, which are apparently the number one cause of fatalities. It lowers those tremendously, like by 92% or something. I sent that data to
It
you
was big,
today.
yeah.
It was significant. So again, I'm not completely against a traffic signal, but I am super concerned about safety.
One thing I want to add as well, that it just occurred to me, because Commissioner Gaines had mentioned, once you get the lights up, you should be able to see them better. We also know there's some shrubbery at that intersection that will just go away. So that will open up that intersection,
Great.
signal or roundabout. It will open that intersection up a lot. Those shrubbery are on private property.
It's a great idea to remove that shrubbery to give that better visibility.
Other questions?
Just ancillary of this intersection, what's not lost to me is just the absolute the discussion we've had tonight is the sheer cost
Yes.
that we have, the burden that we bear on sheer cost of road improvements in a simple intersection that the average citizen thinks, let's just throw a light up. It's $4.5 million worth of cost. And so, that's there's challenges that we have, and it's a very high expense to meet that. And that's throughout the organization, no matter whether we're talking about construction costs or we're talking about health insurance. It's just large amounts of money that just, that we have to take into consideration.
It's a gut check. It really is. And considering also Lumpkin Campground Road in the T-Splosh is we only have 15 million set up for Lumpkin Campground Road.
I thought
We
the
have another
Sanders Lake
round
one
up.
was 3.5 million.
That's what the budget is, correct. Like I said, we have another roundabout to build. We have a lot more, 53 intersections, so that all weighed into the factor as well.
It's called prioritization. Some projects will be done, some will not, depending on the money. Other questions? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up, we have presentation of Dawson County opioid support programs, grant applicants, County Manager Joey Leverett. Joey.
Thank you, sir. This item is an initiative. Dawson County was part of a class action lawsuit, and we've been receiving opiate settlement payments from several pharmaceutical and opiate distributors. Again, this was a national class action lawsuit that the county became a part of a number of years ago. To date, the county has received a little over $227,000 from this settlement, and there are some additional funds coming as the payments are spread out over a number of years. However, these funds are restricted for programs and expenses that address opiate crisis through treatment, harm reduction, prevention, and awareness. It cannot be used for these specific tasks. Dawson County designed a grant to award local programs that address opiate crisis in our community. This is a little, we had 7 applicants that were received and evaluated by a committee, and preference was given to local programs that exclusively serve Dawson County and Dawson County citizens. 5 programs that were reviewed, 5 applications that were reviewed, and their grant applications met the guidelines and have extensive experience related to opiate treatment, prevention, and raising awareness and supporting recovery for local citizens. I want to be just make a note that this is not taxpayer money. This is a little unique that we are receiving these settlement funds from a lawsuit. This is not related to any collections that Dawson County receives related to taxes. This is different, totally separate amount of funding. Again, review of these. Tonight we want to recommend 5 organizations that applied, and we're recommending we award these dollar amounts to them. These are 2-year applications. These dollar amounts are for a 2-year period, and they do have to provide some documentations and requirements related to the funding. We did make the process fairly simple, not that complex. And some of these ones I'm going to read here momentarily are excellent organizations. They've all been vetted, and they all are connected to Dawson County. The first is Dawson County Treatment Services. They provide some services related to this grant. They recommend they awarded $74,400. Crossbridge Community Church, they provide a program called Celebrate Recovery. Some of you may be familiar with, very long-established program, and their recommendation is that our recommendation is that we award $22,480 to that program. The local church also has a Celebrate Recovery program, and their request and our recommendation is for $28,600. VITA, number 4, VITA Community Partners. We support them through our budget currently. They are, I think, in-house rehab services they provide. They requested $15,000, and that is our recommendation. And finally, Dawson County Family Connection, $6,250, and I believe this application was related to their teen maze program that they conduct every year. And again, these awards are not, they're a 2-year period, not just a 1 year. The total of these funds that we're recommending be awarded are $146,730. And we think this money will be well used. And if, hopefully we can do this again in 2 years, have this grant application process again in 2 years. Questions?
Questions for the county manager? Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
All right, next up, we have presentation of board appointments. First up, Region Two EMS Advisory Council, Benjamin Adams replacing Justin Mitchell. Term July 2025 through June 2028. And then Georgia Mountain Regional Commission Private Sector appointee, Kevin Harrett, who currently serves, that'd be a reappointment, term July 2025 through June 2026. And I'll make those recommendations to you for your consideration over the next couple of weeks. All right, next, I guess we should ask Kevin, make sure he still wants to do it. All right, let's make sure. All right, move on to number 9, presentation to approve an estimated rollback rate in relation to House Bills 581 and House Bill 92. There's 2 options. All right, so they made some changes to the House Bill 581, as you well know, which was a tax-related bill that was approved. And so basically, you have, the options are this in reference to House Bill 92. When we talk about rollback rate changes. Option 1 is a local government may certify an estimated rollback rate to be included on the notice that's sent out by the tax assessor's office of your assessment. The estimated rollback rate is defined as the current year's estimated millage rate for general maintenance and operations minus the millage equivalent of the total net assessed value added by the reassessments. The levying or recommending authority must certify this rate by formal vote and provide the rate to the County Board of Assessors and Tax Commissioner no less than 15 days prior to the postmark on the annual notice of assessment. As you remember, I sent this out to y'all and added it to the agenda so that, because we're right on the verge. If we're going to do this, then we have to make some movement on it today. Because she's sending out the notices on the 16th. She's got to send the information to the company that's going to help her with that by the 7th. So this would have to be moved forward if the board decides that they're going to put in an estimated rollback percentage. So in other words, if you're going to put in a 25% rollback, or, you know, estimate that as a 25% rollback, then you would do that. What that means is basically if you do a rollback estimate, is there would be no figured dollar amount on that notice of assessment. So in other words, it would just be their assessment with the whatever y'all decided to do if you decided to do that. So basically, if you said, okay, we're estimating a 25% rollback, that would show up on that assessment. Now, in that as well, then if you don't follow through with that, then there's, you know, only major consequences. The citizen's going to be mad because you didn't do what you said you was going to do. All right, so I estimate our option number 2, if a local government fails to certify and provide an estimated rollback rate by the deadline, then the notice of assessment for that specific jurisdiction will state the previous year's millage rate and provide an estimate of taxes owed based on that previous year's millage rates, which is what has happened back through the eternities. So those are your 2 options. So we need to decide tonight if we're going to provide an estimated rollback percentage, and if so, we need to vote on that, move it forward and vote on that in the voting session. If not, we can just let it ride and do what we're doing now. So that's open for discussion.
Happy to talk. I mean, I think that we're historically, we have rolled it back at different percentages at different years based on the current economy. I think that based on what we've seen in the last 2 months with what's happened with lost reduction in revenues, the next 3 months before we have time to set the millage rate, I think there's some ambiguity in where we land. I'm more of the mindset to to do it as we've always done it. And, I'd rather come down than go up. I'd rather not set an expectation that we're gonna go lower and then have to go up in run. Some of that is people get their estimates and then they may decide to appeal based on what that estimate is. And if it sets too low, they may not appeal, but yet then in the long run, we aren't able to meet that lower reduction, then they are not have the opportunity at that point to appeal. So I'm more the mindset to do it as we've always done it, to cause less confusion for the citizens as well. And then utilize the data we have at the time when we set the millage rate.
Other thoughts? Y'all think? Y'all think the same thing? So if I understand this correctly, that means we don't have to vote on anything. We'll just let them do their thing. Got it? All right, okay. County manager report, Joey.
Yes, sir. Very briefly, one item I'd like to make the board aware that we held an employee health and well-being fair on April 23rd and 24th. We had 133 employees attend. It was a good event. I appreciate Human Resources and all our vendors' hard work. It was well received, and just wanted to recognize that event occurred and it was a success. That's all I have, sir.
Questions of the county manager? County attorney report.
We don't have a report tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, that ends our work session. We'll take about a 15-minute break, and then we'll be back for the voting session. Thank you for your attendance. That is